December 12th.
The way that she was talking about life, she was really positive.
The boom at the car park was broken, so it was confirmed that someone had taken her right then.
Premiering on December 12th at 10 p.m. on Crime and Investigation, The Murder of Canny Ong is a brand new documentary about the brutal murder case of an innocent Malaysian woman that shook the region. Having returned to Malaysia to visit her cancer-stricken father, recovering after a successful operation, young IT analyst Canny Ong was due to return to the US where she resided. But on Friday the 13th June 2003, after a farewell dinner with her family and friends at the exclusive Bangsa Shopping Centre, Kuala Lumpur, Canny mysteriously vanished from the mall's parking lot after returning to her car to retrieve her parking ticket. CCTV footage of the parking lot on the night of her disappearance revealed her to be a victim of a kidnapping. That was to be the last time her loved ones saw her alive. Following days of investigation by the police, Canny's charred body was found in a manhole near a highway just outside Kuala Lumpur. She had been tortured, murdered, then burnt to death by her abductor. After a thorough investigation with the help of forensic findings, the police managed to capture Canny's murderer, Ahmad Najib Aris, a 27-year-old aircraft cabin cleaner. The police had strong evidence of Najib's involvement the night Canny was murdered, but the question remained, why would anybody murder Canny, a charming person with no adversaries, and with such brutality? Produced by Rack Focus Films, The Murder of Canny Ong revisits the case in touching personal detail, with exclusive interviews with the likes of Canny's mother, Pearlie Viswanathan Ong, and Noreen, Canny's best friend. So how much of a challenge was it bringing all the separate elements of the case together in a coherent documentary format?
For this particular documentary, I think this is why not a lot of films are made about murder cases in Malaysia. Malaysians are, they're private people and they're not so, excited about going out into the public and talking about personal issues. So not only did we face challenges in terms of getting the personal side of the story, in terms of the family, her mother speaking out about the case, and her friend Noreen, but also from the police side, they were very sensitive towards the family as well. Yeah. We have a close relationship with the Malaysian police, and we're quite honest about challenges on both ends, from the police side and the filmmaking side, and so they let us know that they were concerned about the family and how their reaction would be to us making the film. So they insisted that we get permission from Pearlie Ong. So I really respected that. That the Malaysian police insisted that we get that. So that took time, and it took actually several months for us to be able to get interviews with Pearlie Ong and Noreen. So it took a long time and a lot of talking and a lot of convincing.
Also interviewed for the documentary was Haji Abu Bakar bin Mustafa, the retired CID chief who led a special task force of Malaysia's best investigators in bringing Canny's murderer to justice.
I take this documentary not for pride or publicity, but as a very senior police officer, a retired senior police officer, I still have the crime prevention blood in me. Okay? So I take this documentary as an awareness program to the public. It's one of the factors that the Royal Malaysian Police have been pressing on to create an environment where people are aware of safety against crime. So there's my stand on this documentary.
Criminologist, psychologist Dr. Gashina Ayu Mat Saad studied the Canny Ong case in detail and gives viewers a fascinating insight into the mind and motivations of a sexual offender and murderer in the documentary.
I was quite encouraged actually that a production film would come forward to do something like this. I feel that it is very much necessary, especially for the Malaysian population, at-risk people, talking about women and young children, to be aware that they must take care of their own safety, regardless of how well you think you can do in sports or in what do you call it, self-defense. Things do happen. So we need to understand not only from the offender's perspective, but what goes on for the survivors of such incidents. So even though it has been a couple of years since the incident, I'm sure the family members, her friends also, still remember her. And still, some of them may be in denial that she's no longer with them because of the horror that they had to go through.
With the Murder of Canny Ong poised to premiere in Malaysia, the documentary's producers hopes that it would separate fact from fiction and offer some much-needed closure to a shocking Malaysian tragedy at long last.
I would really love for the Malaysian audience who know this case inside out, I'd like them to stand back and look at it to see how the story's been told from an outside point of view, from a credible point of view in a way, you know, very factual, a good chronology, and to remember this case, to remember Canny Ong, remember how tragic it was. It's something that, you know, one of the reasons we made the show. It is one of the few cases that really touched the hearts of everyone. Everyone knows about it, you know, and everyone, you know, understands the tragedy of it and feels very emotional about this story. So I think it's good to revisit this case and to be able, you know, I'd like to put some thoughts to rest that it's quite a, you know, once you hear the mother, you hear the investigators, you know, to relive the story, it's quite straightforward.
I'm really pleased with the film, and I'm just so grateful that Pearlie Ong agreed to an interview with us, and Noreen. I think that really just took our film to another level, to have the personal side of the story, so people could really get to know who Canny really was, and, you know, so the audience could really get a feeling for the kind of human being that she was, you know, what was important to her. Because before, when everybody was writing things about her, of course there was a lot of controversy, I'm sure, you know. People didn't know anything about her. They didn't know who she was. Yeah. She was just a girl that, you know, was raped and murdered. That's it. That's all they knew. She was just something to read about in the newspaper. Yeah. But now with our film, you know, people will get to know, you know, she was a wife, she was a daughter, she was a loving friend, she was, you know, an adoring daughter to her father who was sick, and so, you know, that's the thing that I'm most happy about with this film, is that people will get to know, like, the amazing person that Canny was, and they'll get to find out the truth about what happened to her, and that the person that was arrested was the person that really did commit the crime. And there's no question about that. Absolutely not.